I'm just thinking about the estimate time which they put it for the tutorials, obviously for the modules. Obviously it takes much longer. They say 10 minutes. It took me 3 times longer because of the error into the documentation. I wouldn't call this differently, to be honest, because if you don't tell somebody something, this is obviously error. Okay, deploying. Now it goes here. Now module number 3, create build project, 5 minutes. So it's gonna take me probably 15 minutes if there are no errors. Create build project. In this module, you'll configure and execute the application build process using AWS code build. Introduction. In this module, you'll use AWS code build to build the source code previously stored in your GitHub repository. AWS Code Build is a fully managed continuous integration service that compiles source code, runs tests, and produces software packages that are ready to deploy. What's going on here? I moved this tab to the right of my divider, but it should stay on the left hand side until I finish with them, module 3. Okay, so now configure and execute the build process for the application using code build. Let's go to the code build now. Create build project here. In this module, you'll be using AWS code build to build the source code previously stored in your GitHub repository. AWS code build is fully managed continuous integration service that compiles source code, runs tests, and produce software packages that are ready to deploy. What you will learn: create a build project with AWS code build, set up GitHub as the source provider for the build project, run a build on AWS code build. Key concept: build process that converts source code file into an executable software artifact. Very important, artifacts. This term is used all over the place for exactly the same purpose. It may include the following steps: compiling source code, running tests, and packaging software for deployment. Continuous integration, software development practice of regularly pushing changes to a hosted repository, after which automated builds and tests are run. Build environment represents a combination of the operating system, programming language runtime, and tools and code build uses to run a build. Represent a combination of the operating system, programming language runtime, and tools that code build uses to run a build. Build spec, collection of build commands and related settings in YAML, yet another markup language format, that code build uses to run a build. Build project includes information about how to run a build, including where to get the source code, which build environment to use, which build commands to run, and where to store the build output, which are artifacts. OAuth, Open Protocol, OAuth 2.0 and OpenID connector are the standards. OAuth, Open Protocol for secure authorization. OAuth enables you to connect your GitHub account to third-party applications, including AWS Code Build. Implementation: configure the Amazon Web Services Code Build project. In a new browser tab, open AWS Code Build console. Click the orange button, Create Project button. In the project name field, type Build DevOps Getting Started. Good name, I like that. Select GitHub from the source provider drop-down menu. Visually confirm that the connect using all radio button is selected. Let me go there. So AWS code build, this is for CI, for continuous integration. Service build and test code with easy elastic scaling. Pay only for the build time you use. AWS code build is a fully managed continuous integration service that compiles source code, runs tests, and produces software packages that are ready to deploy. With Code Build, you don't need to provision, manage, and scale your own build servers. Code Build scales continuously and processes multiple builds concurrently. So your builds are not left waiting in a queue. Okay. Create an AWS Code Build project. Get started with AWS Code Build by creating your first build project. Let me look at a little bit down pricing. AWS Code Build use a simple pay-as-you-go pricing. There are no upfront costs or minimum fees. You pay only for the resources you use. You're charged for computer resources based on the duration it takes for your build to execute. The per minute rate depends on the selected compute type. Benefits and features. I'm not going to read this. Everybody can do that. Create project. I'm going to waste more time. One of the reasons it takes more time is because I'm reading the terms, which is good. Description. Create project build. Select GitHub in the source provider. Visually confirm. Connect all. Okay. Build DevOps, get started. A project name must be 2 to 255 characters. It can include the letters A to Z and small a to Z, the number 0 to 9, and the special characters, and underscore. Enable build batch optional. Enable concurrent build limit optional. Restrict number of concurrent builds this project can start. Additional configuration. Let me look at the tags. I don't need the tags. Source AWS code commit. This is the Git repositories on AWS, but we are going to use GitHub. Connect using OAuth. Connect with GitHub personal access token. No. Connect to GitHub. Probably I should click on connect to GitHub. Visually confirm that the connect OAuth radio button is selected. Click the white Connect to GitHub button. After clicking this button, a new browser tab will open asking you to give AWS Code Build access to your GitHub repo. A consent should show up in a new window. Connect to GitHub. Yep. Authorize AWS Code Suite. Wait a second. My AWS Code Suite wants to access your Wingman 007 account, organization and terms, repositories, public and private, organization access. Do I want that? Allows the application to access organization data described in the permission above. Okay. Not owned or operated by GitHub. Authorizing will redirect you to West Console AWS Amazon. That's fine. More than 1K GitHub users created 5 years ago. This is a little bit read-only access, organizations and teams. This application will be able to read your organization team members, the team membership and private protection. Okay. Repositories, public and private. This application will be able to read and write all public and private repository data. This includes the following: code, issues, pull requests, wikis, settings, webhooks and services, deploy keys, collaboration invites. Okay. Authorize. Oh my god, now I'm gonna stop. Get my password. Put it here. Let me see. Oh, I think it's this one. Let me go to my GitHub account and check again. I have so many. My profile. I have so many that I don't even remember. I don't even remember everything here. So I guess this is what it is. Confirm password. You're being redirected. Okay, I'm going back. Choose confirm to connect the code build to your GitHub account. Confirm. Okay, okay. Let me go back to the security token included in the request, where I was making a research why I couldn't build, why I couldn't create actually the application in the first place. Okay, public repository URL. Now I have to add the repository. Click the green authorized AWS code suite button. I did it. Type in your GitHub password. Click the orange confirm button. I have done it. Select repository in my GitHub account. AWS, Elastic Beanstalk, blah blah. Okay. It's a public repository. I have nothing to hide here. Username, repository name. Disconnect from Git, connect status, repository, source, environment, managed image. Use an image managed by AWS. Code build, custom image, specified Docker image. Okay, so that's great actually. It's a different philosophy. It's absolutely crazy, but what can I do? Okay, so let me see. Amplify repositories 34. This is the repository. I don't remember where was the tab. Probably it's this one. Okay, anyway, so let's go back. HTTPS GitHub Wingman 007 AWS Elastic Beanstalk Express JavaScript sample. Connection status. You're connected to GitHub using a personal access token. That's fine. Type AWS Elastic Beanstalk Express in the search field. Click on the repo you forked in a module. Type AWS in the search field. Repository URL. I don't see any search field. Source, version, optional, info. Repository URL. Connection status. Additional configurations. Git clone depth, optional. Git submodules, optional. Use Git submodules. I have used submodules years ago. I'm not doing it right now. Environment image. That's good. You can use staging and production probably. Environment managed image, operating system. Okay, let's continue with all this. Click on the repo you forked module 1. After clicking your repo, your screen should look like this. So it's source primary, source provider, public repository, repository in my GitHub account. It looks totally different. GitHub repository. Right now it looks different. Your username, blah blah, repository. Look this. It looks different. Definitely looks different. Source version optional. Enter pull requests. Branch. Enter pull request, branch, commit ID, tag, or reference and a commit ID. So I can choose which branch actually, which tag to be built. That's good. Source provider Git. What else do I have now? Amazon S3, AWS code commit, Bitbucket, GitHub Enterprise. Okay, those are the choices. Source providers. I don't have a GitLab here. Thanks God I'm using GitHub, which is the most popular. Okay, repository. This code commit also, it's good, but I bet it's not cross cloud platforms compatible probably, because the specifics of GitHub is the most universal. Okay. Disconnect, repository my GitHub, public repository, repository GitHub. It looks different anyway. Visually confirm that managed image is selected. Managed image is selected, environment. Select Amazon Linux 2 from the operating system drop-down menu. Amazon Linux 2, distribution of Amazon, Ubuntu, Windows Server 2019, not too many choices. The programming language runtimes are now included in the standard image of Ubuntu 18.04, which is recommended for new code build projects created in the console. See Docker image provided by code build for details. Okay, Ubuntu 18.05 is the older version. The newest one is 20.04, or they even have 21, but I'm talking about the long-term support, so it's a little bit old, but everywhere, to be honest, I'm using 18.04, exactly this version. Runtime. Select standard for the runtime drop-down menu. Standard, there are no other choices. Image. Select AWS code build Amazon Linux 2 8664 standard 3.0 from the image drop-down menu. Probably I have to choose something else. Image. This is the newest version, as you can see, or the highest version. AWS code build Amazon Linux 2 ARC 64. This is RM x86 architecture 64-bit. So this one, standard. So they have actually RM architecture 64 bits. We're choosing 64x64 architecture. Image version, always use the latest image for this runtime version. Visually confirm that always use the latest image for this runtime version is selected for image version. Always use the latest image, otherwise we can choose different versions, as you can see. Linux x6, x86, 64 standard 3.0, 3.0 2005. Okay, I will leave it. Environment type Linux. Linux GPU. I don't know what happened to the Free Software Foundation with Richard Stallman. They didn't like him very much. So GPU. Visual confirm that Linux is selected for environment type. Visually confirm that new service role is selected. Again, this service role. Service role privileged. Enable this flag. If you want to build Docker image or want your builds to get elevated privileges, I don't want that. Service role, new service role. Create a service role in your account. Mamma mia, again, a service role is going to be created. How many did I have here? I had 18. Now another one is going to be created. Role name, code build dev. Probably I have to assign a policy to this role as well. Who knows? Additional configuration. Timeout, default timeout is 1 hour. Queue timeout, 8 hours. Certificate, do not install any certificate. Install certificate on your S3 bucket. If you have a self-signed certificate for SSL, probably, or a certificate signed by a certificate authority. Choose the option to install it from your S3 bucket, which is great actually. I use Let's Encrypt certificates. VPS, select your VPS virtual private cloud that your Amazon Web Service Code build project will access. Nothing there. I haven't created. 3 gigabytes of memory, 2 virtual CPUs, compute. Wow. We should confirm that new service role is selected. Create build specs file for the project. Select insert build comments. Click to switch to editor. Mamma mia. Environment variable, VPS, I haven't seen such things so far. Environment variables, value type, plain text, add environment variables, create parameter, file system, identifier, ID, decryptor, directory, mount point, build specs. Use a build specs file, insert build specs name optional, use a build spec file, store build comments in a YAML format, build spec file. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Select insert build comments. Click on switch to editor. I don't see such thing. Use a build spec file, build spec name optional. By default, code build looks for a file named build spec YAML in the source code root directory. You know what? Probably I will create this build spec YAML in the source control management, push it, and I'm gonna solve my issue. Code root directory. If your build specs file uses a different name or location, enter its path from the source root here. For example, build spec 2 YAML or configure it. So I have to create the build specs YAML into the repository. Store build commands in a YAML formatted build spec file. Use build spec file. What does it say? Select insert build commands. Select and switch to editor. Replace the build spec in the editor with the code below. Click the orange create build project button. You should now see a dashboard for your project. Let me see what happens. Insert build command. If I choose this one, insert build command. So instead of having it into the repository, they suggest I choose insert build command. I have to switch to editor, build commands, and replace the build commands with whatever they gave me. Mostly the things are actually commented out, so let me see. Switch to single line. I don't want to switch to single line. Let me copy this build commands. Let me copy this just to have it. Copy. It's a good example. Now switch to single line. No, I don't want to switch to single line. Oops, go back. And now JavaScript. Replace the build spec in the editor with the code below. Version 2.0 we have already that. Faces build commands npm I ---- save artifacts files. Click the orange create build project button. You should now see a dashboard for your project. Okay, whatever. Let's follow the instructions and see what happens. Instead of writing code right now, we are just trying to figure out different things. Version 0.2 faces build commands minus npm minus I install minus minus save artifacts files switch to single line. I don't want to switch to single line. Batch configuration. You can run a group of builds as a single execution. Batch configuration. App artifacts. Artifact 1 primary. Click the orange create build project button. So I have to go to the end in order to build that. Click the orange create. Artifact 1 primary type no artifacts. Amazon S3 artifacts. You might choose no artifacts if you're running tests or pushing a Docker image to Amazon ECR. You may choose no artifacts if you're running tests. Not sure I'm running tests. Additional configuration. Encryption key, cache. They didn't say anything. Amazon S3, probably this is what I should choose because where the artifacts will go. Bucket name. They don't mention anything about buckets in this tutorial, which is again not clear. Click the orange create build project button. You should now see a dashboard for your project. Okay, maybe later. Logs. CloudWatch logs, create build project. S3 logs optional. Create build project. Let's see what happens. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's hope this is. Now I should see the dashboard. Okay. Project created. You have successfully created the following project. Build DevOps getting started. Okay. Start build. So the build could be done, but where the artifacts will go? They should go to whatever we configured here. This environment, and I should be able to see it here. Okay, so let's see. Let's hold primary repository wingman 00 elastic. Okay, that's fine. Artifact upload location, no artifacts. Build batch disabled. Okay. Batch history, build details, build triggers, all this kind of stuff. So I'm where? Code suite. Okay, let's follow the tutorial. Test the code build project. Click the orange create button project button. Okay, it doesn't say anything about the artifacts. So click the orange start build button. This will load a page to configure the build process. Confirm that the loaded page references the correct GitHub repo. Click the orange start build button. Wait for the build to complete. As you're waiting, you should see a green bar at the top of the page with the message build started, the progress for you, build on the build log, and after a couple minutes, a green check mark and a succeeded message confirming the build worked. Let's see that. Notify, share, edit, start build. Build dev blah 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 blah, okay. Build status. I see a green bar. Build started. You have successfully started the following build. Build DevOps getting started blah blah with a random generated number. Stop build. Status in progress. Root. Amazon resource name. AWS code build. US West 2. DevOps getting started. Again random number. Resolved source versions. Version start time. Build number 1. Tail lock. Tail locks. So we'll see what happens. If something changes, I'll resume recording. Again, 30 minutes. And supposed to be 5 minutes. Oh, something happened. Build number 1, still in progress. Oh. container, waiting for agent ping, waiting for download source. Face is download source, code build source directory. How shall I read that? From top to bottom or backwards? From bottom to the top. YAML location is code build, read only build spec YAML. Process environment variables, no runtime version selected in build spec. Moving to directory, GitHub, wingman, blah blah. Registering with agent. Face is found in YAML1. Build 1 comments. Complete. Download source stage succeeded. Face context status code message. Entering phase install. Install test succeeded. Message. Entering phase pre-build. Pre-build. Message succeeded. Running command npm install ---- save. Contributors and audited 50 packages in 1.8839 seconds. Build state succeeded. Phase context status code message. Succeeded, message. I don't see more messages right now. What happened here? Oh, succeeded. Okay, we try build. Build Amazon resource name. Am I recording? Yes, I do. So I didn't have to pause actually. Let me read further. Wait for the build to complete. As you are waiting, you should see a green bar at the top. I did it. And after a couple of minutes, a green check mark and a succeeded message confirms the build worked. Okay. Application architecture. Here is what your architecture looks like now. Amazon Web Services, Git repository, Amazon code build. Yeah, we don't push the artifacts to Amazon Elastic Beanstalk. If I refresh here, I will see the very same page. Okay, that's done. That's fair. We have created a build project on AWS code build to run the build process of the Hello World web app from our GitHub repository. We will be using this build project as the build step in our continuous delivery pipeline, which we will create in the next module. Great. I'm going to stop recording right now and continue in a minute.